Hi, this is Aaron with iBoard Repair, and today I'm going to be working on an iPhone 12 Pro Max. I have it right here in front of me. I haven't done very much to it yet. I've just taken off the screen and I've taken off some of the shields covering the motherboard so I can take a look at it. And I figured we can take a look together, and this would be a good start of the video. So there's corrosion all over. Hopefully it's not too severe. I have no idea what these components are. There's no information. Well, there's very little information about the 12 Pro Max boards at this point, so they can be a little bit difficult to work on. I'm going to go ahead and just take this motherboard out, and we'll see what we can see. So one moment for that. Okay, so I have the motherboard out. In order to get this motherboard out quickly, I just went ahead and I cut the 5G antenna. The reason being is this phone's not ever going to be used again. This is only for data recovery. I've never cut that antenna before, so it made me a little bit nervous. But it only connects to the housing. So I can't imagine that would stop it from booting. So it should be fairly safe to do that. And by cutting that, I don't have to remove the battery out of the housing. So I have always mixed feelings about working on these brand new devices. I do like to figure new stuff out. But there's so little information and there's so little to go by on these newer phones at this point. I am lucky that ZXW does have some basic information, but they don't have net names, so I can't really tell the lines that I'm working on. But they do show me at least like where the lines go. So if I click on a component, it'll tell me where the rest of that line is, which is extremely helpful. Without that, I wouldn't be able to do anything, I don't think. Or at least I'd be able to do very, very little. So this phone, like I mentioned before, it was water damaged. The back housing, or the back glass on the housing is broken, so that allowed a lot more water to get into here. So I'm wondering if there's problems in between the sandwich. And yeah, it looks like there very likely is. I see down here a lot of corrosion. And this isn't like sealed, so water can seep into there. Yeah, there's more up here too. So this one's almost surely going to have to be split. And splitting iPhone 12s is very, very difficult. It requires a whole lot more heat than any other sandwich phone that I've come across so far. At least the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max does. I haven't actually worked on a iPhone 12 or a 12 mini, but I've been told that the 12 actually does use low melt solder on the sandwich, which is nice, so it's easy to split. But the 12 Pro Max does not. Excuse me one moment. So I'm not quite sure how I want to approach this phone yet. I really don't want to split it, but I don't think there's going to be much of a choice in this case. I guess the first things I can do is I'll just go ahead and clean it off a little bit, and then I'll see if I have any mainline shorts or what by connecting my DC power supply to the battery connector. So let's see what happens when I touch the battery connector with some power. So there is no main short, which is really nice to see. If there's no main short, I'm almost tempted to just prompt this to boot and just see. Maybe it will just boot. I haven't tried to boot it, so I don't know that it won't. So let's see. I'll go ahead and put this back into the housing just so I can connect the power button because I'm not sure which connector or which pin controls the power button, so I'll just connect that and I'll give it a prompt to boot with my DC power and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so it's actually pretty hard to determine which of these connectors is the power button. So I just connected these two. That doesn't look like a power button connector, but whatever. I think it's this one, but it could be, these look like front camera connectors. It could be this one. Probably not that one. It might be this one. So, you know, I'll just connect that one as well. And now I'll just I'll see if we get any difference when we press the power button now. So I mean, I'll know when I press the power button most likely if that was the right connector. I mean, there is the case that it doesn't do anything upon prompt to boot, but I don't think that's the case here. Oops. So it's not doing anything upon prompt to boot, so it's either a power rail short or I don't have the power button plugged in. And I think I have the power button plugged in. I don't know what this is either. So power button appears to go underneath the battery. Maybe it is that one. Let me pull this up again and see if we can see if there's like a flex coming out from under the battery. That looks like it might be it. So this comes from underneath the battery. So maybe it is this one up here. I'll try to plug this one in. Okay, I'll just plug all of them in because I am not finding out which one it is. If all of them are plugged in and I still don't... Oh, I think I squished the connector down. If all of them are plugged in and I still don't have any prompt to boot, then that will just indicate that I most likely have a power rail short on here. And it's likely I have a power rail short. I mean, there's a ton of corrosion, most likely inside the sandwich on this board. What connects right here? I'm still missing something there. I might be squishing down another connector again, so let me pull this up one more time.
What's up, Aaron?
Hello.
Hey.
Okay, I'm going to pull this up one more time. What's going on down here? Is there something I'm missing? What plugs into there? Oh, that's the SIM card tray. So that doesn't need to be on there. Okay, one more time. I'll close this all up. Prompt it to boot. Okay, last try for this. If this doesn't work, then I'm just going to go straight to splitting this board. My phone never stops ringing. One sec. Okay, I'll try this now. Hopefully I can get a couple of minutes without another interruption. Yeah, still no prompt to boot. Okay, so that's fine. That's enough evidence for me that there's some power rail short in there that doesn't want to turn on. I can still actually try the battery connector or the charge port. Let's see what happens when I connect a charger to here. So I'll do that at least. Okay. So when I plug this in, I still also get 0. So that's fine. Nothing's happening. Yep, nothing's happening. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to split this board now. So hopefully I don't struggle too much with the split. It is quite difficult to split these things. I hope nothing goes wrong. I hope nothing's overheated because I have to use way more heat than normal in order to split this. So I'll be right back with my equipment for that. Okay, so I have this connected. I guess I'll probably enter this thing. I'm going to try to enter. You know, it doesn't matter. I'm going to try to enter wherever I can. I guess probably just right here or something. Looks like there's still a sticker on there. So I'll pull that off first, just so it doesn't hold it together even more so. Yeah, I guess I'll just try to go in anywhere that I can. Let's see if we can get this off. So I've tested a few temperatures with this before, and I tried 190 right here, and that didn't seem to be hot enough. The problem is, like, up at 220, then I'm going to start to get like other components to melt. But I don't really see myself having a choice here. So I'm going to move this up to like 215. I'm going to put my timer on, and after about 3 minutes or so, I'm going to see if it wants to separate. After 3 minutes, if it's not like budging at all, then I'm going to have to up the heat even more. I wonder if this is worth it to put flux on this board. I think I'm going to put flux on here. I mean, it may not, this is not how you, well, I guess I won't put flux. I don't want to ruin my whole thing, my whole platform with flux all over the place. One thing that I can do, I guess, is put a little piece of solder like on top here and see, like, if that really starts to melt, then I probably have a problem. I wish I knew what these things did. That capacitor just came right out on its own. Those look like they have something to do. I mean, they go through the charge port connector. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the LCD connector. So those might be required for image. I'm not quite sure. I wish I had a donor board from which I can take other components, but I do not. So it's been about 2 minutes. It doesn't seem that hot yet. I guess I'll put some flux on the top of here just so I can start to see, like, when it starts to smoke. So now it's been 3 minutes, and I don't think it's hot enough, honestly. there's like no budge yet. So I'm going to turn up the temperature. This is my favorite pry tool, and the angle that I have to use it at is going to start to make me destroy it, so that's kind of sad. I just don't want to use anything less than my favorite for this one right now. So I'm going to turn up the heat. Interesting, my heat's only at 180. I thought I set it to 220. I did, it's just not up there yet. That's weird. So I guess that gives you the actual temperature instead of you setting the temperature and waiting for it to get up to there. I think it's like a live temperature instead, because it's taking a while to get up still. It's only at 190 still. Let's see if you have any difference yet. No, still seems very, very difficult to try to get into there. It's up to 200 degrees now. And it just does not want to budge yet at all. Starting to give just a little bit, but I'm pressing kind of hard. It's at 211 now. I'm thinking like right at that 220 mark is when it's gonna release. And it's finally starting to go, it looks like. I still had to press fairly hard to get into there, so pads may still be getting ripped. Here we go, it looks like it's starting to come up. Still doesn't want to come up easily though. Here we go, looks like we're getting a lift. And we got it. So that was, I guess, about as good as I could have hoped for it to go. I don't have any broken pads, and I don't see any solder balls popping out of any of the underfill in the rest of the components. So like this is my baseband chip, no solder balls, no solder balls. So that was perfect. These pads didn't like to be pulled at that temperature, but they weren't so unhappy that they ripped. They're just a little gray. I'm not seeing much corrosion in here at all though, except at some of these pads there might have been some corrosion. That would be I'm impressed that I'm not seeing corrosion here. I expected to see more, and I kind of wish I saw more because it would give me like more confirmation that that was a good thing to do. You know, I am not seeing any corrosion in here at all. This may not have even had to have been split. Unless there was corrosion like at the bottom of the interposer on the bottom board, then that's really the only spot I can imagine there might have been some. So I'm gonna have to pull that top shield maybe over here to see if there's something under there. I wish I knew what this was, because it looks like a battery connector. It looks almost the same. So what is this thing doing? It's providing power for something. Let me see if I can figure out what plugs into there. It looks like it's just most likely the power button and then the volume buttons. There are some burn marks on some of these pads over here, so that's good. Maybe that was actually short. Need to make sure none of these pads are touching each other. And it did seem that this separated right as it passed that 220 Celsius mark. So that's something good to note for the future. It seemed like that's probably going to be the temp I'm going to want to work with in the future, because it allowed me to pull it apart and it didn't seem to explode any other components at that heat. So that might be okay to use in the future. A lot of these pads look gray, so I doubt they were all problems. I think that's just a result of pulling a little bit before it wanted to pull. Okay, so I'll just wipe it off now. I'm going to see if there's any difference in my DC power supply now. Again, I really wish that I knew what these lines were. Like, I wish I knew where the battery connector was specifically. I don't even have a charge port for this thing. I'm just realizing a known good. They're still like $50, which is fine. I need to order one, but I haven't had to to this point yet. So another thing I can do, if I suspect that this top board still has a short, is, well, for one, I can just measure capacitors for short, but I can also go around and I can measure all these individual pads on the outside, because ZXW does tell me what ground is at least. So if I have a reading, if I'm supposed to have a reading and I have ground, then, you know, that's obviously telling me it's short. Should also check the NAND voltages, because maybe it didn't like taking spikes there. I'm fairly certain that these things control image, or at least they're going into the image, the LCD connector. It can, I guess, be no, it's going to be something to do with image. I thought it might be speaker lines, but that has a separate flex. So there's most likely going to be have to have something done here. It looks like there's a corroded component there. I'm going to see what happens when I do this first, and then I'm going to come back to that area. So I guess I just wish I knew which connection. Where's my power button connection? But I'll just put this motherboard back inside that housing, and I'll see if we can get anything to happen when I prompt it to boot. So one moment for that. Okay, I just put Captain tape on the bottom board to block the connections, but I wanted to put that bottom board to make the height proper. So I do hope I get a prompt to boot. Just something. Nothing. Still nothing. So that looks really bad. That's definitely short right there. I don't know what that is, but it's short, so that could be stopping it. Maybe it's a 1.8 line. So let me check the NAND voltages, because there's a 1.8 line going through there. I want to see if any of those show short, and then I remove that other component if it clears. That'd be nice to see. So let me see what the lines are on ZXW. So this first one is some line, so let's look at that. This is a different line, so I'll look at that one too. So that's not short, and that's not short. So is there another line here? And this other cap is yet another line, so let's check that one. That one's a little more gray, so maybe this line is short somewhere. That one's also not short. Okay, so that didn't give me too much information at all. Let's see what that burnt component goes, where it goes. Looks to be this one here. I would definitely be interested in knowing what this line is. It's some power rail because it's going to all these other components as well. So I should be able to verify if that line is short by measuring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 8th pin over here. So let's see if that line's short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5's supposed to be short. 6, 7, 8. So that line is short. So that's that capacitor connects to this line. So that's most likely a power rail, and maybe that's what's stopping my boot. It's possible. By the way, this other cap that fell off is also part of this line. I just verified that on ZXW. So it would be really funny if I didn't need to split this board and I worried so much about it and it could be solved on the top. Okay, let's see if that cleared the line. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's still short. But that's fine. I'm just going to inject into that line, and I'm going to see what it tells me. So I'll pull this motherboard back out. I'll inject with like maybe 0.8 of a volt, just because I don't know the voltage on that line, and that's typically like a pretty safe voltage to use. So as you can see, I just taped that off to make sure none of the pads were touching. So this line was right here, was right here. It also goes down to under here, to some other components, and those components are like similar to these things, whatever these are. I'm almost certain that these are going to be my problem. Let's double check. Yeah, the line goes on to all of those. Yeah. So I guess I'll just inject. Well, it's probably worth it just to pull this thing. So I'm going to grab my platform real quick to stabilize this, and then I'm just going to pull those up. I don't even know how this board fits into this platform yet. This platform is pretty nuts. It has both sides, there's grooves, And I guess it fits here, but it's not super intuitive to figure that out. Okay, it should be fine though. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull those guys up. They're surely causing me my problem. The only problem I'm going to have afterwards is that those are almost for sure also needed for image. If they weren't needed, I would be very, very surprised. So I don't know how I'm going to fix that. I don't know where I can get these other components from. I don't have a donor board for this model. So my best bet, I suppose, is I'm gonna have to try to clean up the chips and hope they still work. If I had to guess which one was bad, they all look bad, honestly. I'm not sure what to do. I guess I will just inject after all. I hope it doesn't cause any harm. It shouldn't at that low of a temperature. I mean, at that low of a voltage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that gives me 0.27. That should be plenty enough to find the short. Because I would like to see if it's only one of the components and if the other ones just look bad but they still work. So I don't want to remove all three if I don't have to. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 right here. It looks like it's the big one. Kind of looks like it's all of them. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it looks like it's the big one is melting first. The big one, and then maybe there's even a cap over there. So those are the ones I'll pull first. Yeah, that cap. So the second component right here is also a capacitor, and that capacitor is most likely not required. So I'll just pull that one too. Check one more time, make sure it's still short. Still short, no problem. So I'll pull that now. And whether or not I have image after this, you know, most of the time an iPhone's going to boot without a screen connected, so if this is causing my no boot, even without a screen, I should be able to see it booting on my DC power supply. One thing I just remembered is that I'm not sure if ZXW is giving me orientation, so I should make sure that I know the orientation of this before I move. And it's going to be really hard to see where the orientation is actually. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able to tell this, so I think what I'll do is I'll just add like a green dot onto a corner. There, so now I can remember the orientation. I'll cure that for a second too. Okay. Cure it just a little longer. I want to make sure it doesn't move. So I think that these components control image or have something to do with image. But once they're removed, then the short should be gone, and I should be able to see the DC power supply giving a proper boot sequence, even if I don't have a screen. So that's what I'm hoping for, just as my first initial goal, is that I can get some kind of something that looks like a boot sequence on my DC power supply. So I'll also take a picture of this just in case I come back to this. I end up stopping and I have to come back. I'd like to remember exactly where that dot was. Alright, so now I'll pull this off. Okay, well, that looks pretty bad. I'll just put this chip to the side for now. I am impressed with You know, I'm pretty sure they said this was dropped in the ocean. I'm impressed with how well the motherboard kept water out of the middle of the sandwich. It looks like water resistance is getting better and better still. So, you know, obviously water was able to affect this top component still. But, you know, it's doing okay. I mean, I guess all I mean is that, you know, it seems like Apple is trying to always make their waterproof more waterproof. So let's see if that line is still short now. Still short. It looks like it's a partial short now though. I could verify that by touching voltage to that line and seeing if it's still drawing anything. It's drawing a little, not too much though. So it's probably these other components. So I guess I'll also looks like that top one is worse. I'll also put a little green dot on both of these so I can also both remember. And I'm only doing this in case I have to try to reuse these components. Ooh, I shouldn't look at that under the scope. Because if I have new components, then I can just replace them and I'll have to know the orientation a different way. All right. So I'll make sure I map out these chips when I put them down as well. So that one will be to the left of this one. Okay, so let's pull off these guys now and see if we can see anything. I guess I'll just pull off that top one first because it looks like it's the worst one. Worst of the two. So I'll put this component down. Alright. And I'll check again if it still looks short. I would imagine there's a very small likelihood that these chips actually survived these voltage spikes. So I'm not quite sure what I'll do if I can get this phone to boot and I still have no image. I'm going to need to get donors somehow. Hello. Okay, so I have this component off, so let's see if my short is clear or not yet. Still short. So I'll just pull off that last component and see if that does it. Okay, I really hope that cleared it because I've already taken a look at ZXW and this line, while it does also go over here, it goes like all over the backside of this board. So I do think it's probably like a 1v8 power line because those are typical for them to go a lot of places like that. But I'm really hoping that right there cleared it. And I actually just remembered that I do have another iPhone 12 Pro Max that I've already recovered data from. So if I need to, I should be able to pull those components from that board. So hopefully this is now clear. I really hope so. And I'm still short. I really didn't want to be short still there. So maybe it's under here. Let me see where else that line goes. It also goes under here. There's also a cap that's right here. Or maybe it's a resistor. So I did just notice that it almost looks like there's a bit of component still right here. So that'd be great if that was actually what was bridging my line and causing the short. Check that out again. And still short. So I'll go ahead and try injecting again. I'm not sure how much amperage it will still pull. Probably not very much anymore because it's no longer a full short, but maybe it will give enough that we can see heat somewhere. Okay, well, according to my DC power supply, this is no longer short. So maybe it's just a low resistance line. 0.04. So I mean that seems, I mean, on past models I wouldn't see that diode mode value at the LCD connector or for 1V8 lines, but I mean it seems like it's not short anymore, otherwise my DC power would have given me some amperage pull when I touched it to the line. If it doesn't pull any amperage, that means it doesn't have any access to ground, meaning it's not short to ground. So let's see if we can get some sort of amp draw when I prompt it to boot now. So I'll put it back into the housing and see if we can get anything different now. I still don't know if or what my power button connector is, so hopefully I have the right one connected. Still no amp draw. Still no prompt to boot. I mean, no amp draw from charge port either. So I don't know for sure that this board will boot without the bottom board. It's just what's been typical in the past of these stacked boards, is that we'll get some sort of boot from them. I guess at this point I'm going to measure all the caps around the PMIC here and see if I can find one that looks short. Well, I think that's just a low resistance line, which I'll see a few of. I still think that's a low resistance one, but it's very low. So that looks like it's still connected right there. I want to see what those lines are, if I can make any kind of guess. Those look like they're just both ground. Okay, I don't remember where I was when I last paused this video, but I decided to take another course of action. I do have another iPhone 12 Pro Max here that I've already pulled data from. This other one I didn't even have to split the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that one up. I'm going to split the board, and I'm going to see if I split the board, I want to see if it still boots when I prompt it to boot. I want to see if the charge port still, prompts it to boot as well. Because I don't know either of those things for sure happen. I don't know that the top board boots on its own. Having a known good board here that I can test these things out on is very, very invaluable. So I'm going to take advantage of that. So I'll be showing that process shortly. Okay, so I have my working phone here. Just so you can see, it does turn on. Should turn on. Is my battery plugged in? My battery's not plugged in. Oops. So basically, the very first thing I want to know is what connector controls the power button. So that's simple enough to find out. I'm just going to unplug until I find the one that does it. So I'll try that one first. Okay, I think it was that very first one. But just to verify, I'll prompt it to boot with the charge port, and then I'll press the power button once it's already booted to see if it switches on and off the screen. Because for whatever reason, sometimes the power button just doesn't like to prompt these phones to boot, especially when the battery's been unplugged, and only the charge port will. And I don't really know why that is. But once the phone's on, then the button should be working. So this one goes like really dim if you don't have the speaker flex plugged in. So that's why it's very dim. But this one, okay, that was the first guess was the right button. So now that we know that, we don't have to like keep guessing every time and plugging in every single one. It's just this very top corner flex, the one that I kind of suspected anyway, that goes underneath the battery, is the one that is prompting it to boot. Good. So the next thing I will do is I am going to pull this motherboard out, and I'm going to put my other motherboard in here and just make sure it's still not prompting to boot at that point. So I'll do that right now. Okay, well, I have the board in the housing still. I remember there's actually 2 more tests I'd like to run on here before I pull it all the way out. One of the tests will be if it has no problem prompting to boot with all the other flexes unplugged. I just want to verify that's the case. That's always been the case with any other iPhone, but you know, I don't know for sure that that's the case with this one, so it's definitely worth it to check. So I will do that now. The only other thing after that is I also want to verify that it has no problem booting when I have that 5G antenna cut, which I also don't expect it will have any problems, but again, I would like to verify that so I know 100% sure. So first things first, everything's unplugged except the screen and the power button, so let's see if it prompts to boot, or if it boots. Yeah, it does, so that's good to know. Just wanted to make sure of that. The next thing I want to double check is that it has no problem booting with the 5G antenna cut, which I couldn't imagine it would cause any problems for that antenna to be cut. It just screws into the side of the housing. But again, I would like to be sure, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that. So 5G antenna cut. Let's make sure it has no problem booting still. So it's not booting yet, and that's very interesting. Oh, it's not that interesting. I didn't plug in the battery. There it goes. So no problem booting with the cut 5G antenna, which I didn't expect it was going to give a problem. But now we know that concretely, so that's nice to know. Of course, things can also always change with different iOSs, but I don't expect either of those bits of information would change. All right, so let's put the other board into here. So I did remember just one more thing that I want to test with this known good board, and that's that it boots from DC power. Because I know it boots from the battery, but I haven't tested that it actually boots from the DC power supply, which I'd be surprised if it didn't. but when you're working with new devices, you don't make any assumptions. It's best to just see what it does for sure. And it does boot. Well, let me go a little longer than that. Yeah, it looks like a normal boot sequence. I mean, it did go kind of high there at the end, but okay. So all those questions are now addressed. So nothing like really odd is different about this 12. All of those are, you know, normal, what would happen in any other iPhone. So now let me just see if it's possible that the other phone power button just isn't working, and also the charge port, and it's just a small parts problem left. Another bit of great news having this donor board is that I'm going to be able to take those components that I believe are for the image. I'm going to be able to take those components and fix those lines. With the donor board, I still do have to split it and make sure that it boots with just top board though. Alright. Wow, okay, look at that. I'm getting a prompt to boot. So the power button itself on that other board was bad. And this looks like it's booting all the way. Okay, that is so much better. That is great. What can I extrapolate from that? That just means that the power button on the other board was not working. You know, these were still going to be a problem no matter what, because that looked like it was a power rail that was short. That short's now clear. It looks like it's booting. That is just great. So now I'm not even going to split that other board. I don't have to, but I am going to steal those parts from it and put it onto here. Okay, so I'll do that now. I almost just tried to pull this whole board off while it was still connected. That would have been dumb. Looks fine. So great. I guess I can put a screen onto here and see if I just have image anyway. I mean, I can't imagine that those components were anything other than image power, because it's going into the LCD connector. So it should be image power. I'm just going to prompt this to boot another time just to make sure I didn't damage it when I was pulling that. So I learned a lot of good things from this. So this is great. Make sure it still prompts to boot. It does. Good. So now I'll just put a screen on here and I'll see if, like, what if it just gives image? How cool will that be? I mean, I guess it's possible that those are like touch lines, or, I mean, I don't know how the screen works. I don't know where the touch ICs are in the screen. I mean, they most likely are. That's just how it works now. So I'll just plug in this battery because I know this battery is good too. So let's prompt it to boot. I mean, if let's see. I don't expect image. And just to verify it's actually getting power, I'll try that again, but I'll try it with my DC power. No image. That was awkward. So now, I'm still not sure if this phone will boot like with without bottom board, but I'm willing to just try take these components now and put them onto this one. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm so lucky that this is here right now, and that I've already pulled data, and that she had no plans to try to continue to use this phone. She already had gotten a new phone, and anyways, there's a lot of water damage and corrosion still within that housing. So I'm sure a lot of functions weren't going to be working no matter what. Also, I'm curious, because I know I have that line that I was measuring before was giving me like a low resistance, and I thought it was still short because of that. So I'm wondering if it's a low resistance line on here as well. It was the 8th pin. 5 is ground. 6, 7, 8. It's not. So this is 22.22. The other one was giving me like 0.04. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it's definitely a variance there. So first things first, I'll go ahead and fix all these pads down here. Okay, at least one pad is completely missing. This one here is not even there anymore. So let's see if I can see where that goes at least. So there's a few spots it goes to. One of them being, it goes to right here. So worst case, I might have to make a jumper from here. Yeah, I'll just make the jumper. That seems like it's going to be the easiest way to handle that. So I'll just fix the rest of these pads. And then I'll make a jumper on that pad. It might be a little bit difficult to get some of these pads to take solder. Sorry, it's going to be difficult to hear for a second, but I'd like to be able to breathe. It should be okay to remove that capacitor, so I'm going to do that on this capacitor here. Ooh, I don't know what that resistor does, but that might need to be there. So that resistor I'm gonna most likely replace because it looks gray and I don't think it's making contact with the pad. So I'll make a jumper from this pad over to here. So when I put the component down, it makes contact. Cut it real close with the length of this one. Hopefully it's long enough. I think it'll be fine. I also don't really like how I made it go through this section. I don't want it to short to anything, but again, I think I should be okay. See if I can get this flux out the way now. That looks fine. So that line should definitely give me a diode mode value. And it does. It does over there too, good. So I'll tack that down with some solder mask. That should be fine. So I'll let this cure for a couple of minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, should be cured by now. Honestly, that should be like fine. I can try to add a drop of solder to it, but I guess I will. Hopefully I don't rip it up on accident. This is it's taking quite a long time. And right now is my busy months. I am just swamped. I'm getting in more jobs than I'm getting out every day. So it's really hard for me to take this long on a single job, but like it's also very hard for me to give up on a job. Well, that didn't really work. If anything, I just gave too much solder to that other pad. There we go, looks better. Whatever, I'm sure it's fine. Is there a way that I'll be able to verify? Not really. But I think it'll be okay. So let's just go ahead and move forward and take those chips and put them down and hope that everything just starts working. So I'm definitely the type of tech that just keeps going until I'm done. And it's great for data jobs, I guess. That's why I take this line of work. But it does get difficult sometimes to just keep on trying. Does this board still fit here? I guess. I wish I understood how this board holder worked a little bit better. Oh, there's a spot for it. That will work. So I'll just cut away the underfill so it's not in the way. I'm probably going to still also need this resistor that's down under there. I definitely don't like the height of this pad. I normally rest my hand on the table and it's throwing off my muscle memory a little bit. It's too high. So for these ones, I actually can see the orientation, so that's nice. I'll take a picture because there doesn't seem to be any pattern on the board view software that indicates where the dot goes. This is throwing out the heat to my finger over here too. It's weird. I don't like this board view, or this platform. I'm burning my pinky and it's not even close to it. This thing is sucking up some heat. I wouldn't expect it to take this long. These 12 boards just absorb heat like nothing I've ever seen on an iPhone board. I'm waiting for that pad to turn liquidy and then I'll know the other ones are ready to pull, because I'd like to maintain the balls underneath these without having to do too much to them. It's kind of ridiculous how long this is taking. That was nuts. So I'm really not liking how close that wire is to what I'm going to be putting the chip onto, so I'm going to have to put some solder mask onto it. I should have routed it around the other way. That was dumb. Well, that should be good enough. So we'll cure that, and hopefully it's not in the way of the chip. Okay, should be good enough. So I really just want to put this on, these chips on, and just see image, because this repair is it's just taken too long. Far too long. Right now I'm getting about anywhere from 2 to 4 data jobs almost every single day right now. That means I have to finish, 2 to 4 jobs just to stay where I'm at. And in my queue right now, I probably have close to 30 jobs waiting. So I'm not denting that queue if I'm only maintaining the level of jobs left. And I also have a few phones for sale that I never get a chance to work on because those are for my downtime only. God damn it. I've gotten very shaky all of a sudden. So I mean, I really don't like how these are connecting. Hopefully it's actually connected, but it's real hard to tell. I don't know if that's connected. It definitely is too much to this side. But those pads are real thick underneath, so I think that might be okay still. I guess I'll try to scoot it. But scooting it's not gonna change what's connected, I don't think. I mean, maybe if I have something that's not connected, it might connect, but yeah. God, it looked okay, and then I accidentally touched it. So this is what This is what it looks like when I get frustrated. Did I keep that orientation the same? I don't even remember, so that's great, right? It's not great. So putting on this chip is not supposed to be the hard part, I'll tell you that right now. I still don't really feel like this is connected well. And it's not. Look at that. It's totally not connected well. And the problem is the underfill is blocking it. So I may need to I need to go in there and redo that jumper, I think. Maybe it's good enough. Let's just try. I really just want to be done with this thing. Maybe it's okay. Hopefully these other ones go on a bit more smoothly than that one did. It's crazy the difference in time it takes for the solder to melt between these two boards. I'm wondering, like, this doesn't even appear to be normal, like, solder that's been used in the past. It's like a high temperature solder or something. So maybe that's how they got away with making the low melt in the middle. A higher temperature. Maybe they just made everything higher for this model. And my hand gets tired of holding the hot gun here before it pulls up. Let's move quicker now because that one had a much more normal like sit than the other one did, and again it's because of that solder mask that was in the way. I didn't realize that jumper was in such a bad location when I first put it down. Let's see if I can just get lucky and if it'll just work with this thing on here. I still need to replace that resistor. But if I can just get lucky and have it work, then I can call it and end the video. If not, then I'll have to come back to this tomorrow. Or I can keep working on it now. I'm getting tired of working on this one. But this whole area could have been done better. I'm not thrilled about how this one might sit either. Hopefully it goes on okay. Well, that one settled a lot more normally too. So I'm much more happy with that one. So last but not least, let's just replace this resistor right here. So I'm really thinking about that idea that the whole board is using a higher temperature solder than what I've seen in the past on iPhone boards. It doesn't seem like it wants to melt, and it makes a lot of sense. But that's why it's so hard to pull apart the interposer. Because the interposer is also using much more heat than what's been seen on different sandwich boards. But I guess that doesn't really matter if everything else is also taking more heat. And you can just see, like, on this board I've already put my normal solder onto here, and it melts pretty quickly. But whenever I switch back to this donor board here, it just takes forever for everything to lift. So that is very, very interesting. Okay, so I'm satisfied for now. Let's see if it boots. The true test. Okay, you guys think it will boot? Let's cross our fingers. I mean, I know it's gonna boot, but I'm like nervous to try. I've spent so much time on this one. Charge port's not even prompting to boot. I mean, it's not even pulling any amperage, so I don't suspect it, or I don't know what's going on there, but. So no image still. Let's make sure that it's actually still booting with DC power. I'm not sure what happened. What if I did overheat this, or I don't know. Let's see what happened. So I should still see a boot sequence when I prompt this one to boot. And I do, so that's good. I'm curious why the charge port didn't prompt it to boot. Let me see if that just wasn't plugged in all the way. So I should get some amp draw from here. Still get no amp draw from that. I wonder what can be causing that. I'll just double check it one more time. I really don't like the fact I'm not getting an amp draw when I plug that charge port in, because that is most likely going to indicate a board problem. Because I'm sure this charge port works. I'll check it again with my donor board over here, and then I may have to split that board so I can double check that it does in fact get prompted to boot from the charge port with dot board only. First I'll go ahead and I'll put that donor board back in here and make sure it's still booting. So I'm going to plug the charge port in and see if it's still, if the charge port's working through my amp meter here. It is. It took a second, but it is. I'm also going to verify that I've lost image on this one. If for some reason I still had image, I'd be surprised. Okay, so I do still have image. So all of that I was doing, that's not image. What does that mean? So none of that is actually image. This booted all the way and touch still works. So that's something. Okay. So all of that work that was just done was unnecessary. I did not expect that would not be needed, those components. I don't know what they do, but this phone just booted without them completely. None of this is on there. It didn't care. It did not care. Look at that. I was able to see through the underfill that it looked like there was something wrong with this component here. That's a resistor. Let's see if I can make any sense of what that resistor does. Now I just have no idea what anything does anymore. I mean, it looks like a power line, so I'm going to have to reconnect that. Like, I don't even know if I should take these things back off or not. I might as well leave them. I'm just a little worried about this chip that it's not on there correctly. Like, I am very interested in learning what those things actually do now. I cannot believe that. I mean, it's not time wasted if you learn something, so I'll just have to remember that. So here's, I mean, I do still have this whole problem of my charge port not prompting to boot too, so that's a whole separate problem I'm still going to have to address. Like, where is, here's Hydra. Where's Tigris? Do I have a Tigris on here? I don't see Tigris, so I don't know how this phone actually charges. Good thing I still have that donor board and I can compare these. Let's see if, where does this line go? So I should have a 0.38 on this line. And I do have 0.38. What is happening here? This is so confusing. This is extremely confusing. So on my board view software, it shows that resistor, like, yeah, it's there, but it's on the line that's already connected to each other, it says. And that just makes no sense. So let's see if I can measure that resistor. So I'm not quite sure why this resistor's here, because it appears to have the same value with or without it being there. So I should have no resistance across the resistor, so it should be working like a filter or just a bridge, which it is. It's just connected. So that's weird. If I remove that resistor, does my diode mode change at all? So that's, let's see. So right now this is 0.32. With this resistor off the board, .35. So it is something, but this is just a line. Okay, these two lines are not connected. So the ZXW is wrong. It's not connected. ZXW shows them connected, but they're not. So that's good. Okay, that's good, because that was a main point of confusion. But now can I actually get this pad to give me some reading? Let's make sure what the readings are on each pad individually. I gotta say, like, I don't really edit my videos. I just don't have time. So I already know this video is going to be like really long. So I apologize for that. So that's the problem. It's saying that it's this last pin, but it's not. It's this pin. So ZXW is just completely wrong. And if it's wrong about... Oh god, maybe I'm just looking in the wrong spot. Am I looking in the wrong spot? I am. There's another line right there. That's what I was getting confused with. Oops, oops, oops. Yeah, that was... Okay. Okay, ZXW wasn't wrong. I'm just an idiot. Okay, that's fine. I was looking in the wrong spot. I was looking at these pads, which correspond to this pin, when these pads correspond to the second one, and that's what ZXW shows. So, not my mistake. I'm sorry for doubting you, ZXW. Let's see if I can get some life out of this pad over here. So it's showing me some plane, but there's nothing. It doesn't seem to be connected to anything. So where's the line at? Is it down there? Alright, well, I can't find it, so I'm just going to have to pull up this shield and make a jumper. So it's just right in this top corner. I think I should be able to just pull this away. Oh. So you're not supposed to break your chip. I thought I was being pretty careful, but I was not careful enough. I mean, it's not that big of a deal because I do have another donor if I don't break that one as well. But I can't believe I just did that. Jesus, man. I don't like making mistakes. They upset me. And this phone is just being terrible. Jesus. I am so upset about this. It's right on the other side of my CPU as well, and this solder is so hard to lift. Alright, I'll just have to use a lot of air so it comes up quickly. Jesus. Why do I have a feeling that this is like a eraser chip anyway and it's just touch and has nothing to do with image? Alright, well, it was a relatively clean pull. I didn't fuck up the CPU. So now if I pull this chip off the other board, and now I'm going to test the other board to see if I still have image, and I have image, I will be mad. So now I have to very carefully pull that same shield without cracking the chip. I'm going to try my hardest to get a clean pull because I don't really feel like reballing this. At this point, my day's over in 15 minutes. And I'm not really the type of person that likes to stay very long after work. I'm going to get this capacitor out of the way to see if I can make it a pull as clean as possible. I think I got a clean pull. Looks like I might be missing some ground there. Let's see if I can get away with not needing that. So yeah, that's definitely ground. Basically, if ground plane is in another spot that's connected to this chip, then I don't need to worry about that ball being missing. So, what that means is, if I can get this chip down, I'll tell you. So that ball should be connected to this ball. As long as this ball is connected to that ball, then it doesn't matter if it's missing, because these are both ground. And yeah, they're connected, good. As long as both of these are connected as well, which they are. Okay, so it doesn't matter that that one ball is missing. And I wonder if this board survived all that heat. Because I still do want to see if, like, what if I just have image still? I hope that USB functionality doesn't require the bottom board, but it is absolutely a possibility. But I did see Hydra on the top board, so that's good. But I didn't see Tigris, so maybe Tigris is on the bottom board. Can I see Tigris anywhere in here? If anything, it would be around the same area. Is that it? I don't think that's it. I don't know. Best bet's going to be to separate that other board and see what happens when it's top board only. Maybe I should have done that before I pulled this chip. It's hard to see, but I think it looked okay. So that wasn't even like the main problem. I still need to connect the line that I was missing. So first off though, I'm gonna see if my image is gone on this other board now, finally. To be honest, I hope my image is gone, because that will mean that I'm on the right track to solving the no image problem on the board I'm actually trying to recover data from. Image. I still have image. Can you believe it? So that's probably Racer. I probably took out touch. Let's see. Exactly, that was Racer. That was just for touch. Touch is no longer working on this phone. Okay. And the plot thickens. Okay. So it's not necessarily meaning that can't also be an image line, because it can just be, it's coming from the PMIC. It can be a power rail that provides power both to Racer and to image, like the 5v7 lines on Chestnut on older phones. But this is getting out of hand. So this point needs to come over to this point. I'll just skip over the resistor, we don't need it. At least I think we don't need it. What do we do for some reason that I am not understanding? I mean, the resistor was literally just a line though. What do you know? I lost the resistor anyway. Where did I put it? I don't even remember where I put it. It was probably still on here, and then I probably blew it away. Well, I mean, I guess that makes it even simpler. Now I'm definitely just gonna attach the line straight over to here. It's just I'm introducing variables that I don't like to do. Introducing variables. Okay, it was just a 0 ohm resistor though, so worst case scenario, I find another 0 ohm resistor somewhere else. And I try that. This video is now 2 hours and 40 minutes. So, like, if you were watching this, I apologize that I didn't solve it sooner. Well, was it supposed to bridge that? That's wonderful. How? Okay, it's not connected anymore, so that's fine. Let's add the wire. Should be pretty long right there. tip is too big, so let's not use it. So this is a thicker wire, and it has a coating on it, so I won't actually have to run or put thermal paste on it, or solder mask, sorry. Not the most secure connection, but it's connected. What if there's like compatibility issues with these screens too that I'm not taking into consideration? You know, I was thinking that, again, this line had to go to these near pads, but it has to go to this far one, and I'm not sure if I made it long enough. Looks like it's just long enough. Great. Now I gotta solder with my left hand, which I don't normally do, but I'm already here, so let's just do it. Alright, so I'm connected. Let's just make sure the line's not short now. It is short. Now it's okay. And this is supposed to have a coating on it, so it shouldn't matter if it's touching something like that. So that's done. I'll put a piece of tape under it or something. The worst part about doing all this work is I still know I don't have USB functionality, and I'm gonna have to figure that out at some point as well. Okay. Okay. Time to check for image again. I can go either way with this one. I hope it gives me image, but I mean, that line was going to racer and PMIC. So it can be a racer line and just take out touch if it's not there, or it can be a power line that that both racer and the screen need. And I gotta tell you, I should probably start charging more for iPhone 12 or for whenever there's like no net names available for the newest iPhones, because they're just so much more difficult to work on when you don't know what things are and you just have to guess. And this was probably going to be impossible if I didn't just happen to have another iPhone 12 here already. Oh, great. I knocked off my jumper. I could reattach that. I knew that jumper didn't have the greatest connection. I'm getting quite frustrated. It makes my back hurt, it makes me hold my breath a little bit. I'll try to add a little bit more solder to that. There we go, finally got a solid connection. Now if you are just so kind to give me image, I would appreciate it. Like, just do it, right? Just give me the image. Just be cool. Alright, 1, 2, 3, image. Go. Give me image. Give me image. Give me image. I don't know though. I'm not seeing any image. I'm not seeing any image. Maybe image is controlled by the bottom board. Well, you know what? I do have a jig. So let's throw it in the jig. The jig is going to be the last thing I try for today. If it doesn't work, I'm going to have to come back to this again later because I'm done for the day. So I'll be right back with my jig. Alright. Got no more workspace. This does not look very secure. Maybe this is not supposed to be there. That looks better. I don't have a way to make this prompt to boot. I'll have to pull this battery up and then I'll hopefully be able to make this charge port fit. Alright, I got the battery out. It was a pain, but it's out. So let's see. First and foremost, if this will like prompt it to boot. So I would love to see a prompt to boot right here. Still no prompt to boot. Alright guys, well that's probably going to be it for me. Maybe I'll come and wrap this up with you guys at some point, but I don't think I'm going to be diagnosing it on camera anymore. It's obviously taking way too long. So hopefully I come back to you. I don't know. Okay, so I just tried one more thing off camera. Literally, I said that I was going to be off camera a couple of minutes ago, and you're not going to believe it, but the bottom board is needed for image, and that was the reason I didn't have image. So I did a little bit of testing, and I figured out on the other board that shorting these two lines right here, one's the power button, the other one's ground, that gets it to turn on. So I was able to get it to boot by doing that. And if you take a look, I have image. Can you see it? You can. I don't know if I have touch yet, so let's see that. I don't even know if it's booting all the way yet. I didn't wait for it to boot up all the way. So that will be usually the dim screen. It booted. Wow. Touch is good. 829 662 662. Password's correct. Ah, that was insane how long that took. I still don't have USB functionality, but at this point I'm into the phone. I'm using the original bottom board. So I might just do an iTunes backup, or I'm sorry, an iCloud backup, because this was just a crazy job. Just so you don't think I like switched out the board or anything. You can see it's the same board. Alright, that's just a little update. I'll edit this in. I'll probably give another update. I'm sorry, if you couldn't hear me, I didn't have this plugged in all the way. I'll probably give another update when I decide if I'm doing an iCloud or if I'm going to see if I can get this USB functionality to work. I did already test to see if the bottom board was needed for charge port, and it didn't seem to have made a difference, so I don't think that's the problem with this one. This still might be the case, I don't know yet, but it doesn't seem to be helping this one. So yeah, I'll give you another update next time I'm in. This is it for today though. Thanks. Okay, I'm back, and to wrap up this iPhone 12 Pro Max, I did manage to get it connected to the computer. I do have image. I have the charge port working, and overall I have to say that this was the most inconsistent job I have ever worked on. I don't know why the charge port started working. It was not working at all yesterday. It was not working when I first came in. I compared the diode mode measurements to my known good board, and then I just tried again, and it just started working. Before that happened, I was trying to get image back again this morning, and I wasn't getting image back, and I was prompting it to boot through the power button, and it just was not giving me image. I connected my DC power, and I prompted it to boot, and I had the screen attached, and I can see that the phone was booting, but I still had no image. So I switched the screen back to the donor board to see if maybe the screen just happened to go bad, and I was prompting that to boot through the power button, and it was giving no image. So I thought my screen went bad, and then I just decided to try to prompt to boot through the charge port, and image came back. And then I did it again. I was prompting through the, well, first I'm not sure. Honestly, this is just the most inconsistent thing I worked on. All I know is that it seemed like the charge port, prompting to boot through the charge port, gave me image for some reason, while prompting to boot through the power button didn't, and that repeated a couple times, and then eventually prompting to boot through the power button after the charge port just started working as well again, and I don't know why. I let the phone boot all the way, and I pressed the power button a few times to make sure the button was working, and after doing that, it seemed to like trigger something that was making the image appear when I prompted to boot through that. Anyway, I don't know what happened. This was crazy inconsistent. All I know now is that the phone is connected to the computer. I'm pulling the data from it. Apparently, we don't need the power button installed on here to prevent the watchdog error anymore, like on the iPhone 11. Because I don't have a power button installed right now, and it's not restarting after 3 minutes. So that's probably good news, but I don't really know how to. I don't know if that's going to stay consistent because everything else about this has been inconsistent. Either way, this was incredibly difficult. I didn't like it at all, and yeah, I'll take that phone call and end the video now. So good luck with the 12s. So for final clarification to end this video, I do want to demonstrate one more thing. Can you see this? Yeah, if you see this here, I only have the bottom board. The bottom board, or I only have the top board, I'm sorry, but only the top board is needed for image actually. I don't actually need the bottom board. I can show you that by prompting it to boot through the charge port. I'm very bad at remembering this mic. So as you can see, I do have image. So again, it's just a really confusing phone. I don't know why image came back when I put it into the sandwich, or when I put it into the jig, I should say. It was coincidence. I don't know, maybe the pressure of the jig did something. All I know is that this phone, said it over and over and over, it was very inconsistent. It didn't behave like a normal job would go. I do get a temperature sensor now. I'm not sure, or a temperature sensor warning. I'm not sure if that's actually because of the not having a bottom board, or if it's because that wire that I made earlier. I'll show you. It broke. So maybe that's all that is. It's some sort of temperature sensor. So that wire that was going down to over there, that broke. So I don't know if that's for temperature sensor or if because I'm missing the bottom board, but one reason or the other, I was getting that temperature sensor warning. So I just wanted to say that to wrap it up, that, you know, I said that the bottom board was needed. I just didn't want that information to be out there if it was incorrect. So now I'm finally finished, and now once again, good luck with the 12s because they're very difficult. At least they can be. I don't know if they are every time. I've only seen a few of them. But thanks for stopping by.